Hey everyone! So I have not posted on this channel since 2019, I would say. So I just wanted to do, a quick life update because a lot has happened since 2019. I believe the last couple of things I posted were the Meet the Victims action that we did in Spain. And life just really changed after that action. I moved back to the United States and I got really sick. I was suffering from breast implant illness, which a lot of people aren't really familiar with because, of course, the industry is trying to keep it under wraps. But I was dealing with a lot of severe chest pain. Like, I legitimately thought I was having heart attacks, anxiety. I was feeling numbness in my fingers and my toes constantly. My joints were hurting. It was like I aged 50 years overnight. Um, just headaches, nausea, constant nausea. My vision got really bad. I was having brain fog every single day, and I just felt like a shell of myself. And I was going to the emergency room, to the doctors, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, and nobody could figure out what it was. Like, all of my tests came back clear, all of my blood panels were perfect, and um, some people try to attribute it to my plant-based lifestyle, which I knew wasn't true because my levels were great and because that's just a very common and very dangerous misconception about plant-based diets. But eventually, I had spoken with another activist from the UK who asked me if I had breast implants, and I told her yes. And she explained to me how she was feeling the exact same symptoms, and she removed hers, and that there were, women all around the world who were suffering from the same ailments and realizing that they went away as soon as they took their implants out. So I dug a little deeper and I was just so in shock at what I read because there were countless stories of women experiencing the exact same things that I was going through. And there was a bit of relief because I finally put a name to what I was feeling. I knew I wasn't just, experiencing these things for no reason. I knew I was sick. And so once I was finally able to figure out that that was the root issue, I wanted to see how I could take them out. And at the time, I absolutely had no money, and it's more expensive to take your implants out than it is to place them because it's a more serious surgery. So what makes women sick is the implant will develop a capsule, which is scar tissue. So the capsule is filled with a lot of nasty stuff that really seeps to your body, and you know the biggest problem is that there's this foreign object in your body, and our bodies, doing what they do, it was trying to get rid of it. And so, I had gotten really sick and I wanted to get them out. But yet, the reason why the surgery is a lot harder is because you have to take off that scar tissue that's adhered to the implant and to your body. So it's a lot harder than just slicing and placing them in. Sorry for the graphics. But eventually, I was able to get them out, which was a really difficult, daunting process because most insurances won't cover it because, it was an elective surgery, even though you're physically in pain. And there's a literal cancer that only develops for women in breast implants, but your insurance still won't take them out. So I had to jump through a few hoops, but I was able to remove them, thank goodness. And I started what I thought would be my healing journey from there. So, the good thing is, as soon as I woke up from the surgery, I immediately felt better. Like, my chest was obviously lighter, my vision completely restored, my brain fog was gone, the pain I was feeling in my joints and my muscles, I didn't experience again. And the recovery process is a lot different for different people. I've heard some people say it takes a month for every year that you had your implants in to heal. And I had mine for 7 years before they gave me any problems. So a lot of the other issues, it did take longer for those to subside. But at this point, 99% of those symptoms have gone away. And I'm so grateful. So yeah, I took my implants out about a week and a half before I moved to Spain. I moved back, of course. For those who don't know, I got into a master's program in animal law in Barcelona, which is my favorite city in the whole world, so it was great. But I was going through recovery while I was moving to an entirely new country. And it was a really, really daunting experience. And of course, I didn't take a break. I jumped straight back into investigations and activism with Action for Liberation and some other groups out there. And so this time I had taken my now fiance, oh, I'm engaged now, by the way. I took my now fiance Clint with me, and we were doing a lot of activism out there. Um, and, it's the same thing whenever you're doing really intense activism like that, when you're doing investigations and you're uh, basically experiencing what the animals go through in everyday life, you cannot do that and not take a part of it with you. And my anxiety and PTSD had skyrocketed. Um, and then you partner this with a global pandemic where everything was shut down. And for me, the way that I handle things is I travel, I just keep walking, I keep going, I put myself in new situations. And I wasn't able to do that. We were all completely locked down. So having to deal with all of the stuff that I had seen in the farms and documented, animals dying, animals completely ripped open, animals trying to escape slaughterhouses with fear in their eyes, very palpable fear. And this completely changed my brain. And I was not myself for the longest time. This was the absolute lowest I ever was in my life. I literally thought I was going to die every night. I was having problems even just going to sleep. I was scared to fall asleep because I felt like I wasn't going to wake up. I would feel my breath slowing down as it does when you fall asleep, and I thought, like, I'm dying, my body's shutting down. And so ultimately I realized it was a combination of the trauma I experienced with the breast implants, with people not believing that I was actually sick, with how awful I felt, paired with what I had witnessed in the farms. And I was just a shell of a person. I started dissociating for the first time in my life. I had never experienced that before, where it's like everything goes hazy and you don't feel like a real person. And I would be walking in the park with my dog and just kind of freeze and have to lay down and breathe. And it got so bad to the point where Clint had to take me to the emergency room so many times to just sit out there because I felt like I was going to die. And it was honestly the scariest part of my life. And it was so bad that I thought, like, if death came, it would be a relief at that point. That's how bad it was, and which is a very scary thought. But yeah, I never thought I would get out of that point in my life. I just thought that this is how I am now, and this is how my brain functions, and this is just, I have to learn to deal with this until it's done, until I'm done. And it took years of getting to the root cause of this anxiety, and it was panic disorder at that point. I couldn't go 2 days without having full-blown panic attack, which starts with like a weird feeling in your head, and then suddenly like your brain goes to, I'm shutting down, I need to protect myself, and my breathing would become labored. I felt like I was going to pass out. Just these very scary feelings that your brain tricks you into thinking that are real. And even though part of you knows, like, okay, you have an anxiety disorder, that's what this is, our brains are so powerful that they can actually mimic real symptoms in our body to make us think that we're in danger, which I wasn't in danger any of those times. So I started to do some more research about my triggers and anxiety, and I found this guy on YouTube called The Anxiety Guy, which, if you're struggling with anxiety, PTSD, trauma, please watch him. He is incredible. And he really just breaks down why this is happening to you and what you can do to stop it. Because our brain is so malleable. Like, we have, our neurotransmitters, which we can shape every day. Just because your brain thinks one way one day doesn't mean you don't have the ability to literally retrain your brain. And that's what it came down to. I had to completely retrain my brain again. And I don't know if I was just disassociating so much, but it felt like, honestly, I was like an alien dropped into my body, and I was experiencing human sensations for the very first time in my life. little things that I'm sure I felt a million times before, it felt like it was brand new and it was very scary. And that's the only way that I can describe it. But I, started to do some journaling. I tried to traditional therapy, and it didn't work for me. The talk therapy. Um, I feel like they were too focused on my childhood, which yes, your childhood has a major effect on, your trauma and how you handle life. But I knew the source of my trauma, and it was not necessarily my childhood. It was the breast implant illness and going into farms. And the therapist didn't really want to talk about it. So if you don't have a good therapist, please get another one. But I just didn't feel like talk therapy was the route for me. I wanted to learn more about why this is happening, like from a scientific perspective, as opposed to just a personal one. So, long story short, I no longer suffer from panic disorder at that level. I cannot think of the last time I had a full blown panic attack. Every now and then I'll feel some anxiety pangs, and the breath gets labored, my heart rate will shoot up, but my brain now knows that I'm not in danger, and that is such a glorious feeling when you can recognize you're experiencing anxiety and then you can move past it without having a panic attack. It is beautiful, and I never thought I would get here. Um, so after all of this, was said and done, I of course was still doing activism very rapidly, but eventually I realized I needed to take a break and focus on other things. And so, for those of you who know me, you know that I am not a fan of the United States. I have been trying, especially of Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm from. Beautiful state, pretty clean, not for me. I've been trying my whole life to basically get out of there. I lived in Las Vegas for a few years. I have been back and forth from Spain. Whenever I did live there, I was just constantly traveling. I was either in San Diego or LA and or Vegas. So it was just not the place for me. And eventually, my fiance and I, we went on our first trip post-pandemic to Puerto Vallarta, and it was the best trip of my entire life, hands down, most incredible trip of my entire life. But on the flight back, we're getting ready to board, and I just start bawling, full on, just nonstop tears. And I explained to my fiance, like, I just didn't want to go back to Phoenix. Like, it has been killing my soul. There was so much drama with the community that I swear Phoenix is cursed. Not the new people, they're incredible, but there's just a lot that happened in the past, and it's just like a very dark shadow of a place for me personally. And I didn't want to go back. And so we were playing with the idea of moving somewhere else. And obviously, my dream living space is going to be Barcelona, but it's really hard to maintain a visa unless you're like an English teacher. And, I could have done that, but my fiance probably didn't want to be an English teacher. So we figured out that we could move to Tijuana, which, is a border town right near San Diego. And that way I could be out of the United States. He can be really close to school since he goes in San Diego. So it really worked out, and we've been here now for 3 months. We really love it. It's extremely affordable. There's a ton of vegan restaurants, like a stupid amount of vegan restaurants, and it's going really great. Also, since then, like I mentioned before, we did get engaged, and we are planning our wedding for this October, the 22nd in Phoenix. So a lot's been happening, but also I have been organizing for Tijuana Animal Save. I helped a couple of the locals set up the chapter here, and we're working on the Week of Action, which everyone from Mexico is going to come here for this massive Week of Action I'm really excited about, and we're going to have the first really big animal rights march here in Tijuana. So yeah, I have not been doing activism fully as I have been before. We kind of are doing as much as we can, but I'm really at a fork in the road with my activism to try to determine what my next steps are going to be. I obtained my master's degree in 2020, and I've been applying for the traditional organizations, even the ones who I don't agree on their strategy, just to really be able to work 100% for the animals, because having to work a full-time job and then do activism on the side, it's a lot, and I'd rather give all of my strength and energy and time to the animals. But I have been having a really hard time even getting an interview for a job, which is really confusing because, I've been doing grassroots activism for 6 years. I have this master's degree. I have really great references from people in the movement, and I am at that point where I don't want to sit around and wait for an organization to recognize my talents and my abilities and what I can contribute to helping animals. So I don't know if starting a new organization is the best route because there are so many out there, and I just feel like it kind of dilutes our message when we have so many different small groups trying to achieve the same thing. I think that if we pull together and work together and utilize those shared resources, we can accomplish a lot more. So that's really not the route I want to take. I'm also considering some other ventures that are not exactly related to animal rights, but would help, you know, really bring in money in a non-exploitative way as much as you can in capitalism, and utilizing that money to help the animals in bigger ways. So at this point, it's really a stay tuned, we'll see what's going to happen kind of thing. I don't want to share too much about, the business that I may or may not start, but that's basically it. I just wanted to do a quick update and let everyone know what's been going on because, like I said, it has been so much. I've lived like 4 lives in the last couple of years. And yeah, I'm planning on posting a lot more in here. I would love to share more things that I do. I'm primarily more active on Instagram, so if you're on there, please follow me. It's Andrea, the number 4, Liberation. But if not, I'll see you next time.